Good afternoon. This is the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration, meeting number 6, Thursday, October 27th. The orders of the day. This meeting this afternoon is televised. It's pursuant to Standing Order 1082, study of the immigration application backlogs in light of the action plan for faster immigration. We have 3 sets of guests, and I think the first person isn't here yet, but we'll start, and hopefully he will arrive soon.
Mr. Chair?
Someone speaking. Yes.
Mr. Chair, we were initially supposed to be having other witnesses this morning come before the committee.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if we could be provided an explanation as to why those witnesses are not coming and when we can anticipate that they'll be coming before the committee.
You know, and that's a good question, sir. We had an email from, he's called the senior advisor. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't want to. I will try to give you as concise an answer as possible, but I don't want to get into a lengthy discussion because I don't want to take time away from these witnesses. Got an email from a fellow by the name of Francois Harvey, who is the senior advisor, Parliamentary Affairs, and it's an email to the clerk. And he said, due to unforeseen circumstances, CIC officials, including immigration program managers from missions in New Delhi, Manila, and Chandala, will unfortunately not be able to appear before the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration tomorrow. That was the message. Unfortunately, that was just received yesterday. Late in the morning. It was received late in the morning yesterday. There wasn't enough time to arrange for other witnesses. So, unfortunately, we had to cancel the first hour. Representations have been made to Mr. Harvey as to when these witnesses will be able to appear. And at this point, he hasn't responded.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, if I may, I do find that it is highly disrespectful in terms of the manner in which this thing has unfolded, and the committee would be doing a service, I would ultimately argue, that a strong message be sent. These are civil servants, and I would have expected them to have made a presentation. So if it's in order, Mr. Chairperson, what I would like to do is to move that the immigration officials from Manila, New Delhi, and Chandigarh be asked to provide an explanation as to why they were not able to present before a Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration.
You know, my concern is, you know, when you make a motion such as that, we could conceivably get into debate. We have an hour to deal with these witnesses. There's 3 sets of witnesses. The subcommittee is meeting at 1 o'clock. If you wish to discuss it then, but I honestly, I don't want to take time away from these witnesses.
Sounds fair. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you, sir. So we have 3 witnesses. The first is Warren Crates. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, sir. You're an immigration lawyer.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. We have Ms. Katrina Parker, who I also believe is a lawyer. We have Ali Mokhtari.
Yes.
And you are with Canpar Immigration Services, Inc.
Exactly.
And we have, excuse me, we have Michael Atkinson, who is the president of the Canadian Construction Association. As I understand it, Ms. Parker and Mr. Mokhtari, the 2 of you are somehow connected.
We'll be splitting.
And you'll be splitting up to 8 minutes.
Exactly.
And Mr. Crates, you will have up to 8 minutes, and Mr. Atkinson, you will have up to 8 minutes to make a presentation, after which time members of the committee will, I expect, well, not expect, I know, will have questions and comments. Mr. Crates, you may go first. Thank you for coming this morning, sir.
Thank you for having me. It's always a great honor and part of our responsibility, I think, as Canadians, to have a chance to speak to parliamentary committees, and I've had the great privilege of doing this several times before today. So it's nice that your clerk and your committee asked me to return. My practice, the things I'll speak about today are obviously from the point of view of the private sector and the concerns that and interests of my client base. I've been practicing for 26 years. I'm a certified specialist by the Law Society of Upper Canada in the three areas of immigration, citizenship, and refugee. So if members of your committee want to ask me questions on any elements of those three parts of Canada's program, I'd be happy to field them and try to answer them. I'd say 50% of my practice is corporate immigration, which includes, of course, a very heavy emphasis on work permits, temporary status, business visitors, NAFTA cases, but also they often logically lead to permanent resident status and then citizenship for those who want it. The other 50%, of course, are individuals and family members that are prosecuting their own cases or trying to reunite with family members. So again, your committee members, some of them might have interests that relate to corporate immigration, transfer of executives by way of example, and other kinds. And some of your committee members may have questions or concerns, and their constituents deal mostly with family reunification, which I know is a big concern for most of you. I think I think four messages I wish to deliver today. The thing that our clients are most concerned about is processing times. And they haven't seen those shrink, they've seen them increase. And there seems to be nothing that any of us can do about it. Obviously, it takes resources. Obviously, there's more screening taking place. Obviously, there's greater interest in security and fraud these days than there ever was, and that's a good thing. I'm not demeaning at all the need to pay particular attention to those parts of the immigration program and the need to collaborate with other agencies outside the Department of Citizenship and Immigration. But the bottom line, of course, is the growing processing times, due in part because of the backlog, but also because of the scrutiny that each of these cases now receives. I think there is some value in considering differential processing fees like the Americans do. I don't see why we haven't been more serious about evaluating the opportunity, because immigration is often thought of as a challenge, but many of us at this table and beyond view it more as an opportunity than a challenge. And the opportunity exists, I think, to a greater extent if you can get the talent into Canada that we need. There's a consensus, I think, on the need to have talent in Canada. The foreign worker program is now producing about 190,000 temporary foreign workers, which is a staggering amount. But it's symptomatic, I think, of our economy and the need to have temporary foreign workers that fill gaps in the labor market. So why not have processing fees, since there seems to be an inelastic demand for immigration and so on, and there's a growing cost associated with it, why not have higher processing fees? It's maybe unpopular for many, but if you've got any of us that studied economics will clearly see that if you've got costs that go up and demand doesn't go down, then it's called inelastic demand, and that's what we've got, I think, in our immigration program. So my clients would not be against the raising of processing fees, provided they got reasonable and fair service in a reasonable period of time. And many of those same clients, I think, would be prepared to pay higher fees if it meant expedited processing, such as what exists in the United States. I think it's something we should be talking about and considering here and beyond. The conditional the debate now, very much public in the last couple of years, about conditional permanent resident status for members of the family class, what we call FC1 cases. So they'd be marriages, common law spouses, and conjugal partner applications. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with imposing a conditional visa on such applications. It'll, I think, facilitate the genuine ones and will be a barrier for those that are not genuine, that are fraudulent. Obviously, not all marriages work out, including those in Canada, so there's going to need to be flexibility in how officers on reporting conditional permanent resident status that are no longer together, let's say after a period of 2 years, and I don't think it should be more than 2 years. I think 2 years is the right amount. There needs to be flexibility to accommodate those marriages that just genuinely don't work out. And the courts have been very good at adjudicating disputes involving family law cases, so why can't the Immigration and Refugee Board do the same thing? I see no reason that they can't have that jurisdiction and that expertise. They do it already. One of the final points that I have, maybe the final point I have, has to do with the possibility of cutting immigration during periods of economic recession. Canada has, we all know, done very well during these economic times compared to other countries. And our cycles, our economies are in cycle. And what the immigration program, I think, does very well for our country is invest in the future of our demography. And economic cycles are short-term, and I don't think, unless for temporary foreign workers, it could be done there. But for permanent resident status leading to citizenship, I think cutting immigration levels is short-sighted. And I'm not a supporter of that. I think the balance that exists now in our immigration program is probably as good as it's ever been. I said I've been doing this for 26 years. I don't have any issue whatsoever between the balance that's there now and all the streams of immigration, the economic immigration, the family reunification, the temporary foreign worker, and so on, the refugee, the humanitarian compassion grounds, all the various different elements that together make up our, let's say, 280,000 visas that were issued last year. I don't object to it. I think it's as good as anyone could make it. I think our program is overall excellent, and I think we should be concerned about fine-tuning it to make it better. There's no heaven on earth, and there's opportunities, I think, that haven't been properly explored or fully explored. And a related point has to do with educating Canadians.
Mr. Crates, I'm afraid
the 8 minutes is over.
I got to stick to the rules in this place, unfortunately. I know you have a lot of important things to say, and perhaps they'll come out in questions. Sure. Ms. Parker.
Thank you for having us, also having me. It is a first for me, so I will start right away because I only have 4 minutes. So I'm sorry? It doesn't count so far? Okay. Excellent. So I've been a lawyer working exclusively in immigration for the last 12 years. I've been working alongside with Mr. Mokhtari for the last 3 years. And I've been dealing on a daily basis with hundreds of federal skilled worker files, applications. Most of these applications represent general practitioners and medical specialists. So overall, we have about 515 applicants and files that we've submitted between February 2nd, 2008 and June 2010, which is under the first list of ministerial instructions. It's important to underline that out of the first set of ministerial instructions, these applications were told that their application would be processed in 12 months maximum, and that was very clear on all the acknowledgments of receipts that were received by our applicants at the time. Now, only 4.47% got processed under this promised delay. Again, my colleague will address this issue a bit more in detail. Then came along the second set of ministerial instructions, which represented 29 jobs. What is very crucial to underline is that out of this first set and second set, we found 18 professions that were exactly the same on both lists. So we're a bit concerned how Citizenship and Immigration Canada who replied to every one of our applicants, and we quote by saying, because the second set of ministerial instructions reflect Canada's current market needs, federal skilled worker applications under the set of ministerial instructions effective as June 26, 2010 are processed on a priority basis. And that we are responding to the most urgent labor market needs first. And that, to us, is a bit of a concern because, as I said, we are representing medical practitioners. So how is being a doctor before 2010 and after 2010 is different and does not meet the same urgent market needs. So again, we have specific cases that Mr. Mokhtari will address on that. Before I conclude, I just would like to bring to your attention that we had sent several correspondences and inquiries to the ministry, and we got 2 separate correspondences on actually one day apart in May 2011, where, and we quote again, it was said, it is important to note that applications are processed in the order in which they are received. Procedural fairness dictates that it is not possible to process one person's application ahead of those who have applied before them. So how can this statement be made in May of 2011 when it is a well-known fact that applications are not being processed on a first-come, first-served basis? And it's a bit of a contradiction on that issue. So I think it's more than time to get back to supporting Canada's reputation as an immigrant welcoming country. So I'll leave it to Mr. Mokhtari. Thank you.
You have about 4 minutes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here and talk about such an important issue. My name is Ali Mokhtari. I'm a member of the Iranian Tehran Bar Association as a lawyer in Iran. Also, I'm a certified immigration consultant in Canada since last 4 years. And I'm also running a company, CanPars Immigration Services, offering immigration services to a huge number of people. I'm representing specifically hundreds of clients in different federal programs and submitted 514 federal skilled workers completed applications within the first ministerial instruction since 2008. I would mention that only 23 of these 514 applications got processed till now. That means 4.4%. And when it comes to Damascus office, it becomes even worse because I have 506 completed applications filed in that visa office, and only 15 of them got processed till now. It is just 2.9% of the whole files I submitted. Another point that it is not about only Damascus office. It's not about Iranians, because sometimes Mr. Kenny's talk about Iranian files. In an interview that I remember, he mentioned that it's because security background check or whatever. It's not about that. Those who got processed is processed in a timely manner within the time frame that he offered, between 6 to 12 months. And also, after first ministerial instructions, I have filed 250 files, or around that number, and more than 10% of them got processed in a 12 months period. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is that they didn't process any file in Damascus office which was with AOR date of March the 2nd and after. So you cannot find even a single file that the AOR of the Sydney dated March 2nd and after, and it got processed. And also, I have 144 GPs among those first ministerial instruction applications. that they are never processed and are in shelves of Damascus office. The other point that I wanted to mention is it's a very interesting comparison between the two cases. I have a brother and sister from the same family, from the same education background, and from the same experience. The sister applied in February 6, 2009, and he received medical papers in February 17, 2010. And they are both doctors. They are both, as I said, brother and sister. And the brothers applied in September 15, 2009, and he is still waiting to receive any processing for his file. And I have all these documents here. I have all the list of all my clients. And you see it's 12 pages, and you see all these with blue. That means they are processed. So it's only 2.9%. The other issue that I wanted to raise is that it's not about federal skilled worker
program. Perhaps you could wind up, sir.
I'm sorry. So I have to stop?
No, you got a few seconds.
2 seconds.
Giving you some warning.
It is not only, I have a website, parscanada.com, which is receiving between 10,000 to 15,000 clicks a day. And I feel like the image of Canada has been damaged severely by this policy of just keep people waiting in Damascus and not processing the files.
Thank you, sir. You mentioned some documents, and I would worry about you presenting them to the committee because there's probably names on there that cause problems with our privacy legislation. So, in questions of the committee members, perhaps you could just speak in general terms.
Sure.
Mr. Atkinson, you have up to 8 minutes. Thank you, sir, for coming this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to present before this committee. The Canadian Construction Association, we have approximately 17,000 individual member firms from coast to coast to coast in Canada. Construction accounts for some 7% of Canada's GDP. Our members are involved in the non-residential sector of the industry. They essentially build everything but single-family dwellings. So essentially they build Canada's infrastructure, both private and public. Before specifically addressing the backlog situation, I'd like to set the stage, some of the context that we're looking at. As many of you know, our industry experienced chronic skilled labor shortages in many regions of this country prior to the onset of the recession. While these shortages were somewhat lessened during the downturn of 2009, employment within the construction sector is back again at historic highs. In fact, in July of this year, we set a new record for overall employment within the sector and have surpassed our pre-recession recorded highs. There is an international study which just this past year that has projected that Canada's construction market will be the 5th largest in the world by 2020, behind only the U.S., India, China, and Japan. So not surprisingly, our labor supply, our future labor supply, is becoming a primary, if not the major concern of our industry going forward. The Construction Sector Council, which provides labor market information for both Human Resources and Skills Development Canada and Citizenship and Immigration Canada, estimates that the construction sector will be short some 325,000 workers by 2019 due to retirements. Less than 50% of that needed amount, they project, will come from traditional sourced in the domestic sources. So in other words, we're going to be short by some 50+%, and we're going to have to look for those workers to come from abroad. And when doing the math on that, if you project out to 2019, it means that we're going to have to find approximately 20,000 new foreign skilled workers annually through immigration. Now, according to the Department of Citizenship and Immigration, there are some approximately $1 million applicants presently involved in the backlog. The decision to cap levels under that program should be viewed as a temporary measure only. We're of the strong view that if additional resources are required to free up that backlog, that is what Canada should be investing to try and address that backlog. Indeed, we feel so strongly about this that we presented before the House of Commons Standing Committee on Finance as part of the pre-budget consultations and made that one of our 3 points before that committee. But expedited processing is only part of the solution. The other, I would say, and probably most importantly, involves reforming the existing system. Here's where I'm going to sound a bit contradictory, where on one hand we are saying let's expedite the backlog under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. I'm now about to tell you how the Federal Skilled Worker Program doesn't work for our industry currently. And the primary reason for that is the current point system. Frankly, because of the majority of the points are given for post-secondary education and language proficiency, the kind of workers that we are looking for just won't get the 67 points they require out of 100. Now, there are consultations underway right now to improve that. The minister has gone on record as wanting to make changes to the point system to make it more trades-friendly. But frankly, the system right now doesn't work, and as a result of that, our firms, our companies are looking to use the temporary foreign worker program, looking to stream those temporary foreign workers into the provincial nominee programs, using the Canadian citizenship class, etc. The Federal Skilled Worker Program is just not a current option for them. The other point I think is extremely important here is that despite the fact that we are relying heavily on the temporary foreign worker program, our skill shortages, our projected skill shortages into the future is not a temporary problem. The simple math shows that it is not a temporary problem. It will not, to a great degree, go away with the ebbs and flows of the economy. With a fertility rate in Canada of approximately 1.5 to 1.6, we're just not replacing the population that is retiring or that we're losing from the workforce. The international guideline is that you need a fertility rate of about 2.0, 2.1 in order to replace your population. Canada's currently is at around 1.58, 1.6. So just the mathematics alone suggests that we need to look abroad for our future workforce. So on two hands, we need to ensure that the backlog under the Federal Skilled Worker Program is dealt with, and if it's resources that is needed, then let's apply the necessary resources. And secondly, we need to take a hard look at the eligibility requirements under the point system to ensure that we are not turning away the workers that our country needs in the future, not just in the construction industry, but in a number of other industries, particularly in the area of skilled trades. And given the large amount of infrastructure Canada needs to build in the next 5 years to keep pace with growing international demand for our commodities, our natural resources, let alone the replacement of our aging public infrastructure, which is also a priority, the challenge is no longer theoretical. We need to act today to ensure that we have the labour market that we need to ensure that Canada has the infrastructure to be competitive, to be productive in the world. And so, in conclusion, we're encouraging the government to not only take a hard look at expediting the backlog under the Federal Skilled Worker Program and to make the necessary reforms to ensure that the workers that we need for our future labour market are not turned away despite the backlog. There is also a need to ensure that under the provincial nominee program and other areas where, in fact, the industries like ours are now using those particular programs to bring in workers, that we not hinder their ability to do so, particularly when the Federal Skilled Worker Program is not working for industries like ourselves. So, Mr. Chair, that concludes my opening remarks, and I look forward to questions, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. And I know there will be some questions. Mr. Menegatis has up to 7 minutes.
Thank you, and thank you very much for being here with us today and for sharing your thoughts and your concerns with us. It's certainly valuable information that we need as a committee as we move forward with our recommendations to the Minister and to the government. Canada, as you know, as we all know, is one of the most welcoming countries in the world. Last year, we let in a record 280,000 people. Having said that, there is a backlog. We don't see that backlog getting better unless something is done. You mentioned, Mr. Mokhtari, the number of hits you get on your website. There were 43 million hits on Immigration Canada's website in the past year. That's 120,000 an hour. So 56% of those, I should say, are from international sources and 44% internally. So there are an awful lot of people that are interested or are showing interest in coming to Canada. We just don't see the demand getting any smaller than it is already. And I think we can get bogged down in talking about numbers and statistics and speak about that and debate those issues and processing times and so forth. But quite often we focus on the quantity, and I don't know that there is enough focus on the quality. And there's a point I've made here before in this committee and outside of this committee. It's not just about the sheer number of people we let in. It's about making sure that the immigrants who come here integrate and are able to join the workforce and fully participate in the economy and the community. I represent the riding of Richmond Hill. It's one of the most diverse ridings in the country, with a very dynamic, I might add, and a very progressive Iranian community. But I know that I think the government has shown that integration of new Canadians is one of our key goals. Would you agree? And can you please expand on what the practical limits are as to how many people Canada can welcome every year, from your perspective? And I'm asking the question to all four of you.
So we'll start. The question is how many?
No, I say, would you agree with that assessment that we need to focus on the quality as well, and our ability to be able to integrate the people that are coming here in our infrastructure, healthcare, and so forth? Would you agree, and can you expand on what the practical limits are for us here in Canada as to how many people we can welcome every year? I mean, there are practical limits as to how many people can come. Yes.
I completely agree with you. It's not just about the number. And the debate has been about the number and the kinds of immigration. It's always been that way. It will always be that way. We seem to have done a pretty good job. You know, it's experimental, right? Canada accepts more immigrants than any other Western country in the world. And so it's a bit of an experiment as to what society this ultimately builds. But I think the experiment, we'd agree, has been a great success so far, and let's hope that continues. But let's not take it for granted. I know that the department does a statistical evaluation whereby they share information with, or they seek information from Revenue Canada, Canada Customs and Revenue Agency, to look at how the cohort is doing compared to the host community. And what I've read is that the average income earners of the newcomers in the last, let's say, 8 years is not what it used to. It's not as good, and it's not as good as the host community. It's not as good as it used to be. So there needs to be a constant refinement of the quality of the applicants we're seeking. And I'm referring mostly, of course, to the economic stream, not the family reunification, because you really don't have any control over that. There's no assessment for education or language ability or any, age or any of those things. So I agree with you. There needs to be a constant focus on that, and it's very hard to speculate because of the pipe it takes to go through to get a federal skilled worker here. 2, 3, 4 years, what is the economy and the need in the labor force going to be like by the time that person is 24 when they apply, but 28 by the time they settle, and they may not settle initially very completely. They may go back to their country, and the permanent resident PR card only requires them to be here 40% of the time. So there's a lot in play here to develop a mixture, and I think the department should have very good demographic and economists working with them to achieve this. I'm not an expert in that field. I'm a carpenter, if you will. Give me a client and get them into Canada, but I don't really focus on the quality side. But the department needs to have a really full gaggle of demographers and economists, I think, to study that very point.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Atkinson and Ms. Parker.
Your question is a valid one, and I think one way our industry has tried to deal with this is having good, accurate labor market information that Heretofore, we've been partnered with HRSDC and CIC in order to produce. You need that 7, 8, 10-year look forward in order to ensure that the people that you are bringing in, they will have jobs, they will have employment, they will receive the necessary training. In our industry, at the trades level, it takes 4 years to go through an apprenticeship. So we have to be long-range thinking. Having a snapshot today on what it looks like is not going to help whatsoever, and that's why that's important. And quite frankly, that's why it's so important for federal government departments to continue to be partners with industry in this area. That is key, and I do know that Minister Finlay has announced a new program with respect to labour market information which tries to get at that. The other point, and it's implicit in your question, and it intrigues me, and I'd like to hear some discussion on this, it implies that it's provincial governments perhaps that should have a say here. After all, if the immigrants are not employable, or it'll fall upon them on their social welfare programs, on their roles to have to take care of those new Canadians or those new landed immigrants. And it begs the question, is the fact that we are, at least in our industry, are pushing employers to have to use the temporary foreign worker program and then the provincial nominee program rather than coming through the federal skilled worker program. It is pushing it more on the provincial level.
That issue has been raised before, and I thank you. Ms. Parker.
My opinion is also a lot like Mr. Atkinson. I think that in order to respond to the quality, we need to focus maybe a bit more on the urgent market needs, and by doing that is maybe issuing more work permits, and then having these people coming in, quicker and processing their permanent residency applications inside Canada. So therefore, reducing the backlog overseas and really focusing on these market needs. So I think that's also, and I agree when Mr. Atkinson was saying that our selection grid does not enable that, does not permit that. You can't, if it's urgent, you can't wait 3-4 years to have a doctor come in. So that's...
Very briefly, Mr. Mukhtari.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Yes, we have to, as a government, let's say, we have to constantly work on this issue that who is good, suitable for our society, and we have to see it long term. But in some areas, there is no doubt that we have needs, and these needs will be announced before, and based on that, we approved some rules, and these rules have been announced to people, and people put hope and future on those applications, and it's not fair to change the policy and keep them as backlogs there, because we are not sure what we really need. So the backlogs, it was 600,000 before Mr. Kenny's come to the office, and he says it is 1 million. So for Damascus only, my question is, what they were doing during last 3 years? So why those areas, people with the specialization in those areas that we need them, they have to wait there, and we are not sure. Maybe we are not sure about all the areas, but there are some areas that we put them in ministerial instructions. We said yes, we need these people and we need these areas.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davies.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to welcome all the witnesses to the committee. And
point of order, Mr. McGuire. I don't know what that is. We only have points of order.
Point of order. I just want to correct the record. When Mr. Kenny came in office,
no, you can't do that. We're not going to get into that. Mr. Davies.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You'll have your chance eventually, Mr. McGuire.
I hope that didn't count against my time, Mr. Chairman. Okay.
You extra time.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome all the witnesses, and in particular, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy lives to share your expertise with us here today. Of course, we're here to study the backlog, and Minister Kenny, I think I'll be fair to what he has said, is that he has said on numerous public occasions that in 1993, when the Liberal government previously came into power, they inherited an immigration system where decisions were typically rendered in a few months' time and the backlog in applications was manageable. Mr. Kenny says when the Liberals left office in 2006, they left, thanks to their mismanagement, he said, a backlog of some 640,000 applications for the federal skilled worker program, some 850,000 applications generally. Over the last, I think that corrects it. But now, since he's been up for 5 years, the backlog totally has grown to over 1 million. I don't think Mr. Kenney would agree with me that it's his mismanagement, but the backlog has certainly grown. Now, what Mr. Kenney and I think the government is proposing is that we impose caps on applications as a means of dealing with that backlog. And they point to the experience in the skilled worker class as an example of success. Now, my first question, I'd ask you to be brief. I'm going to target my questions. Ms. Parker, Mr. Mokhtari, do you consider the ministerial instructions, what the government's done in the skilled worker category, to have been a success?
I'll let you go first.
I don't think so. What I think is that Mr. Kenney closed down all the federal programs by doing this. Actually, he left the backlog away and put a cap of 1,000, again 500, and gradually it just received, processed some of them from the first ministerial instructions, and then again in the second and the third. It is just a show. I'm sorry about this to say that, but I just have 15 speeches from Mr. Kenney in different immigrant communities. He's walking around and talk about reducing backlog and reducing the processing time, but it is not the case. It is not what we see on the ground. We have 24,000 of investor program, federal investor programs backlog. This is what they officially says. And even for the new program, which was only 800,000 investment, and they announced it actually in November 2010, which is they started receiving the applications in January or in late December because of the forms. So I filed some of them in January and February, and they never received any processing. But they had 3,000 visas a year, and they said 2,000 allocated to the previous program, which was with 400,000 investment, and 1,000 for the new program. When my files never received any processing till now, which is at the end of the year, how they going to use that 1,000? So that means it's closed down. It is finished.
Let me drill into that too. So we can understand this. There's a backlog of 640,000 skilled worker applications. In 2008, it brings in an instruction saying we're going to do what? Ms. Parker, what did that first middle instruction say?
It's saying we're bringing in 38 professions.
And one of them would be, say, doctors. Okay.
Exactly.
And he also said that applications received after February 1, 2008 would be processed first.
Exactly.
Over and above the 640,000 that were already there, correct?
Which comes to answer your question about the caps. Those caps, in the end, are not fixing in any way the backlog prior to 2008.
Right. So a doctor who was waiting in the queue before 2008 saw their application thrown aside.
Absolutely.
And an application by a new doctor made in 2008 was processed first.
Exactly.
And I also understand that the people got letters after 2008 saying that your application would be processed within 12 months.
Absolutely.
And I have tabbed here Mr. Kenney's speeches as well, where he said 12 months, 6 to 12 months, 7 to 8 months, and then the majority of them would be 6 months. How long are those applications filed after 2008 taken to process? Do we know?
Mr. Mokhtari has his own list, and I believe the last AOR and the last one processed was February 2009.
So what does that mean? How long would are those taken to process? Would they be processed within 12 months?
No, never. No.
We're over 2 years.
Okay, so then in 2009, Mr. Kenney issues a second set, I would argue saying that the first one didn't work, saying, okay, now we're going to cut those occupations from 38
to 29.
To 29.
Yeah.
Doctors are still on the list, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
19
But then,
were the same.
then imposing caps. We're only going to take 1,000 applications worldwide for any particular occupation, correct?
Exactly.
And then there was a third ministerial instruction that came after that, cutting it to 500. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you take crane operators that were in the queue from, say, 2004, or doctors in the queue from 2004. What happened to their applications as a result of these ministerial instructions? Have they been dealt with?
Completely, as of first set, second set in 2010, third set, as soon as you come out with the third set of ministerial instructions, the other ones are completely forgotten. And we start over again every time a new set of ministerial instructions come in, even if, as you mentioned, out of these two same lists, if you take the first and the second, 19 professions are exactly the same.
So how is it fair for a crane operator doctor who applies in 2009 to be processed before an application that was submitted 3 years earlier?
Absolutely against procedural fairness, and that's what doesn't
But
make
that's what
any
Mr.
sense.
Kenny's instructions required?
Absolutely.
I'd like a quick question, Mr. Atkinson. Mr. Atkinson, you said that projected skills shortages are not a temporary problem, and I agree with you. Do you agree that temporary foreign workers who come here should, once they're trained and settled with an employer, should have greater opportunities maybe to apply for citizenship so that they can stay and continue working with those employers than is presently the case?
Yes, we certainly like to see that, and we'd like to see a number of other changes to the temporary foreign worker program as well, including issuing LMOs to multiple employers instead of just a single employer on a regional basis. And there's a number of pilot programs that the temporary foreign worker program is currently running that are very advantageous to our industry, including allowing applicants under the NOC-C and NOC-D application, which is very important for us. So, yeah, we'd like to see, and quite frankly, I'd be surprised to see a crane operator in the list under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. They're obviously not getting very good advice because,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm sorry, even with extra time, we're out of time. Mr. Lamoureux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm sure the witnesses are familiar with the current system in which you can log in onto the internet and kind of get an e-client update. Assuming that you're familiar with that, I'd appreciate if you could please advise the committee if you find that it is accurate to the best of your knowledge. What I'm thinking of again is especially when you click on the average processing times. Can you provide comment on that?
Actually, there's two services online, which is one of them eCast, that you can find out what's going on with your file, which is totally unreliable. And this is one of my problems with my clients, because they are going to see what's going on their files, and they receive fake information. For example, one of my false information. One of my clients that we just sent him. The AOR called me that, listen, it's written on the website that I have to, they already received my medical documents. Means, was not true. It was impossible because he never received any paper to go to the designated doctor to be.
Now, is that a common thing that occurs?
Yeah, it's very common. It's maybe, I can tell you, 30 out of 100. 30% is inaccurate, absolutely. Okay.
What about, and then Ms. Parker, you can kind of lead a response on this. Specifically, you know, they say that, look, if they don't want you to correspond with the immigration officers abroad, if in fact you're within that processing time. Exactly. So let's say, for example, they'll say your processing time is 11 months. They don't want to hear from you within that 11 months. To what degree do you feel that that is accurate? Maybe, Ms. Parker, did you want to start off and then go into?
Actually, in regards to the internet aspect of it, every file that was processed or submitted after February 2008 or after the first set of ministerial instructions, all the actual information on timeframes or processing delays are vague. So there's actually nothing that can be found, or even when you. And as you mentioned, you're not supposed to be writing to program managers overseas. You're not supposed to be corresponding. But when you were promised 12 months, as you said, and it's been well over 12 months, we're talking another 24 months afterwards, then there's a definite problem.
In the AOR letters, indicated that if it took more than 1 year, 12 months, please contact us directly. Every single applicant who received the AOR and applied within the first ministerial instruction has this letter that mentioned that if you didn't receive any contact or any message or whatever, any updates from us within 12 months, please contact us directly. That's something common. But for the time frame that they are announcing on the website, it's even moving. It's sometimes it's going down or going up. It's increase or decrease, and there is no, it doesn't make any sense at all.
The other area that I want to briefly comment on is in regards to, you talk about the occupations in the list, and we all know healthcare professionals is one of the top ones. We all know that construction areas is one of the areas where there's a lot of deficiencies. To what degree are your clients that are coming here that are healthcare professionals getting their credentials recognized, and what do you believe is the greatest barrier for them getting it? And you got to be really short because I only have 2 minutes to go.
How are you, doctors?
Okay, you start with me. The big problems are with doctors. We have nurses that can get into the system easily, let's say easily comparing to doctors. But doctors are struggling too much because they have to pass 3 exams, and then they have to find a position in one of these.
So if you were to guesstimate, let's say roughly how many doctors would you have had brought into the country yourself through your firm in the last 5 years, and how many of them would actually be practicing medicine today? Could you give us a ballpark guess?
I can't tell you exactly how many, because there are many of them are still in the processing, but yep. I can tell you if only maybe 1 to 2% of them could manage to get into the system, definitely.
Okay. Yes. Mr. Atkinson, did you want to comment in regards to the trade component, like you made reference to the crane operator? Here we have a lot of doctors, apparently about 90+% that are not practicing medicine. Do you think they can operate cranes?
Oh, I hope so, because we're going to need them.
Yeah.
Probably pay better, too.
Yes, yes. In regards to the provincial...
I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, okay.
You're getting into a good area, but we're out of time. Ms. James, you have the final word.
Actually, I'd like to...
you don't want the final word.
I'm going to allow Mr. Dykstra to take my time.
Mr. Dykstra has the final word.
Thank you. Mr. Creech, do you do any, in terms of the work that you do, foreign skilled worker program?
Can you speak up a little, please?
Sure. Do you, you've got clients who applied into the foreign skilled worker program?
Yes.
I've heard for the last hour from Ms. Parker and from Mr. Makatari. How do you find the new system versus the old one?
Well, it's a lot clearer now than it ever was because there are now quotas. And if you don't come within the quota, you shouldn't file an application, and if you do, it'll be sent back to you. So this is an attempt by the government to prevent a new backlog from being created, and I don't object to it. I think it's probably right because you know ahead of time whether you're unless you're looming towards a deadline by which the quota is being filled up, which happened to us recently. But there's more certainty in it. There's faster processing. It's going to prevent the new backlog, and it's a good thing.
Well, it's interesting. We have 2 witnesses and both tell 2 different stories. But just wanted to ask Ms. Parker and Mr. Makatari very quickly. Have you advised any of your clients that were in the backlog prior to February 2008 to withdraw their names, withdraw their applications, and apply under the new system because it would be much quicker?
Actually, this suggestion is being done by Citizenship and Immigration Canada.
Are you doing that? Are you recommending to your clients to do that? Are you recommending that your clients withdraw from the old system because, as you've indicated, it's a very big backlog and takes a long time?
There's a big thing here. There's one very important issue here.
Okay, I don't have much time, so I just need a yes or a no. Are you advising your clients who are in this backlog? Yes or no?
Yes, but there is a but. There is a big but.
Sure.
But
I'm sure there is.
Listen, when you applied for a program and they tell you that you're going to be your application will be processed in 12 months. And 12 months starting from, let's say, January 2009, because it's actually they started receiving AORs, January 2009 to January 2010, that means this is the time frame that you logically have to wait, okay? So no one think that, okay, there is any problem. And then Mr. Kenny didn't correct the problem and continued, and even in the annual reports start again mentioned that 6 to 12 months of processing time. But as soon as in 2010, for the second ministerial instruction, it was June 2010 10.
Okay,
So there are
sorry.
many of them still was not 12 months, so we couldn't recommend them.
Okay, I understand that you have a personal issue with respect to the time frame, and it takes you that much longer. There's a couple of reasons, I think, why. First is, you know, I wish we could. I wish the federal government had the authority to do the foreign credential research on our own and make approvals as to who could practice medicine in this country, but that jurisdiction belongs not only to the province, but obviously to the associations who would then approve the individuals. So I think it's unfair to say that the processing times are in fact part of the problem of the backlog. They in fact are not. Part of the problem is we have a backlog. We have people applying into the process or into the system that in fact need to be approved as professionals by the associations in the particular provinces that they're going to move into. So I'm not surprised to hear if the baseload of your clientele is Iranian, that you know, doctors from Iran are not necessarily qualifying on a very quick basis. If, for example, you were to look to South Africa in terms of the medical associations there, we have Alberta, we have Saskatchewan, associations of the medical associations there approving doctors very, very quickly, and in fact are well within the processing time of the 6 to 12 months. I would also ask, you made a very broad sweeping statement regarding that the comments that Minister Kenney has made with respect under the new system post-February of 2008, that those processing times are much longer than the 6 to 12 months that he's indicated in a number of speeches that he's given. So I would ask you to submit to the committee the documentation that you have to prove that in fact, he isn't telling the truth. You may have a couple of situations, but I doubt very much that you have all of the documentation to prove that across the country that's the case.
Yeah, I have a list of, and also I have the link of the website and the CIC website that all these speeches are there. But responding your...
I'm not talking about the speeches. I'm talking about, you made a sweeping statement, and you're allowed to do that. You're here as a witness. You've been invited to do so. But when you make those kind of comments, you have to provide the evidence and the proof that what the ministry is saying on its website, what the minister is saying in his speeches, and what the government is saying with respect to honoring the time frames that we committed to in February, if you're saying that that's untrue, then I ask you today to submit to the clerk to distribute to all the members of this committee the proof that that's the case.
Sure, it's with me. There is no problem.
Okay, great.
But to respond to your point about...
Just if I can interrupt at that point, sir, if you could provide that information to the clerk.
Sure.
And she will distribute it to the members.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
But for the point that he mentioned, it is not required for Immigration Canada to make sure that if a physician from Iran or South Africa, the qualification of the degree is not a part of the job of Immigration Canada. You
right.
have to, yes. So that, and then I'm talking about the processing, they didn't even touch these people, let's say around 500 cases and 144 physicians. They never opened their cases to see even if they are even physicians or not.
Well, we can't get into specifics about cases, and I just caution you about waving those around, because if they end up on the
Chairman,
camera,
I have a point of order.
Point of order, Mr. Davies. Stop the clock, please. Point of
Mr.
order.
Mokhtari is not getting into specific examples. He raised a number of 140 physicians. For Mr. Dykstra to try to say, well, we're not getting into specifics, the witness is not getting into specifics. He's trying to testify about his experience on a statistical basis.
Mr. Davies, that's actually...
To be fair, I think Mr. Dykstra is concerned that he's holding a document up and that the camera might be able to pick up names.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm concerned about.
Mr. Dykstra, please continue. Start the clock again.
Mr. Atkinson, I wondered, I understand that you laid out very well the position and the difficulties that your industry is going to be facing over the next number of years. Are you satisfied, at least with respect to the changes that we made in February 2008? I mean, this whole study that we're doing here is specifically about reduction of backlogs and trying to work through them. Processing time is an issue unto itself. It's trying to deal with the backlogs. And one of the things I think we did in February 2008, and we've reduced that number by a little over 50% since that time, and getting specific with respect to the areas that we're trying to bring professionals over here, Are we on the right track? I understand that we need to do more. I understand we need to do it quicker, and I understand we need to respond to the needs of the industry. But I believe that previous actions certainly didn't indicate growth a reduction in the backlog. But I would like to think that we're on the right track and moving forward.
To the extent that you are identifying occupations under demand or under pressure that require immediate and urgent action, yes. I mean, to a great degree, that's what's being done in other areas of immigration as well, with expedited LMOs under the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, is to try and ensure that we are addressing our labour market needs. But again, I want to stress the fact that you can only do that if you've got accurate and dependable labour market information that looks out over a 5 to 10 year period, and aren't doing it in a reactive way or a knee-jerked way, or doing it just based on a snapshot of where we sit today. And I think that's very important. No matter how we massage these programs, we've got to make sure that industry and government are working together, governments are working together to ensure we are relying on the best information we can get in that area.
Mr. Desch, I'm afraid the time has expired. And Mr. Atkinson, thank you. I'd like to thank all of you. Mr. Kreitz, I think you were here for Bill C-35 before, and I thank you for once again attending. Ms. Parker? Oh my, Mr. McCarthy. I'm not going to get into that, Mr. Kreitz. Well, it's a lovely tie, by the way. Mr. McCarthy and Mr. Atkinson, thank you very much for coming and making your presentation to us. We appreciate it very much. Before I adjourn the meeting, I just want to remind members of the subcommittee that we will be meeting in camera as soon as this meeting has been adjourned. And this meeting is adjourned.